You'll believe a man can podcast because Superman 1978 is coming up next.
Haven't seen it with Tim Sestito and Tommy Seven. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time. And today, that is myself with maybe an asterisk. I spoke with my father, who said he showed me this when I was little. But rewatching this, I didn't remember a single frame. Like I've seen the clip of, Superman and Lois flying over the city, but like the plot of this, the first 40 minutes of this, like General Zod just being in this movie for the first minute and just
Yeah.
like they name drop one of Superman's main villains and he's just not in the movie going forward. It's like,
It
oh,
is like an insane case of like early sequelitis in Hollywood, where like the first like 10 minutes of this movie almost just feel like set up for Superman 2. So we'll get into more, but like they were filmed back to back. So like that was like almost just like a hey, here's a tease of what happens. You kind of forget about it because it's the beginning of the movie.
yeah, and like you
Because
think like I didn't know where the story was going. So I was just
yeah.
like,
Oh,
oh,
Zod's in
dude,
this?
General Zod's in this? Didn't they do this in one of the Zack Snyder ones?
Yeah.
And then he just gets sent into a black cortex. He gets put in a box and just shimmies. So I do love the aesthetic of 70s sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Well, I can't take that seriously because like I remember Family Guy did so many parodies of that scene alone of like someone being trapped in the Phantom Zone and like oh no,
Mm.
and
It's probably
nowadays
one of the most parodied things that has been parodied from the movie.
yeah, easily and in general it's just like so many things are just so goofy about it.
It's a little goofy, but there's so much charm in this movie.
Mm, yeah.
It has a lot of heart in it, and I think we're recording this the Monday before Superman comes out.
Mm,
I know there's been like we haven't even gotten like reviews yet. We just so I'm cautiously optimistic about the new Superman.
mm.
I think for me, and I've been saying it for years, uh, I'm just kind of done with superheroes, I think. Like James Gunn, he's 4 for 4 on his superheroes. The only one I haven't watched recently was the Suicide Squad one, but I remember enjoying that. And the Peacemaker show has been successful for DC, but
Mm.
I saw a clip of Bill Simmons on his podcast, and they covered like a Superman trailer, whichever one came out, and he just goes like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna see this. I mean." Aren't we like what else is there to say with superheroes? And I'm like, you know what? He's completely right. Like, there's nothing left to say with these movies. They're
Yeah,
just
they're just becoming like adventure theme parks. But this new Superman movie feels like, in a way, like the most interesting box office story we've had probably in about like 5 years at least. Because like,
this is one of the most interesting ones I can remember because this feels like if this mega flops, and I'm
yeah,
talking in a way that I can't picture it because if the budget I don't know what the budget was offhand, but I'm gonna guess 250 easily. Um,
something like that. Yeah,
they have put more into marketing for this than I can remember a movie putting in quite some time. Like they are making sure people know that Superman is coming out. Like you walk into an AMC for the past month, everyone is every worker is wearing a Superman shirt. Like
not even that. You walk into a grocery store like the over the
yeah,
weekend, and every single product has
it
Superman
reminds
branding
me
it.
of like the Star Wars marketing. It was like
Yeah,
when a Star Wars came out, like the prequels, it was
yeah,
on every bag of chips, it was on every can of soda, it was on you wanted to buy hamburger buns, you could have Jar Jar Binks on your hamburger buns.
yeah. It's
And
like uh if this movie fails, like if this doesn't like make back its budget, this like pretty much
I think that
almost it
this
feels like a death knell almost for Warner Brothers in a way.
um
They'll definitely bounce back. They'll definitely have their projects, but like this feels like
well,
it
'cause
would be a massive step back for them. If this happens, pretty much Superman isn't a character in movies for at least a decade plus.
Yeah, well, and we'll talk about it here, and we'll definitely talk about Superman as a character and just I never really I read comics as like a little kid, but like not enough to retain anything of it. It just didn't grab me that way as a medium. And I want to talk. I've done some research on Superman, the character himself, like who he is in the comics, because I think a big issue is is perception of the character, and that's always
Mm.
going to be influenced by the movies because there's just going to be way more people that see the movies than read the comic books. And from my understanding, the Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, is like a total betrayal of who Superman is, like as a character, as far
Especially like the last scene, spoiler for Man of Steel, where a 10-year-old movie that you shouldn't see. He kills Zod at the end of the movie.
very un-Superman.
Yeah, very un-Superman like. Superman really is like known as like more of like a Boy Scout type character. But there definitely is a way forward because like Captain America was thought about the same way, like up until those movies came out, and now he's like one of the most beloved superheroes, especially in the Marvel
Well,
universe.
Captain America's interesting because like the first one was like I remember liking the first half, and then once they introduced the villain, I was like, oh,
Mm,
I'm I'm good on this one. And but then it has a great ending with it where he's like, I had a date, right? But then they
yeah,
just kind of turned into Bourne movies.
yeah, they determined the spy movies
Like
completely.
they're not really superhero movies. They're spy capers. They're not superhero movies, which was a smart decision for them.
Mm.
But this one and like James Gunn coming in was a huge publicity hire. He's terminally online. He's always posting. He's
Almost too, yeah, too much. Where it's just like, dude, you don't need to correct every single fanboy and like their leaks or
yeah,
whatever.
like just dude, just block out the sound, man. Like you're in the big leagues. You can't care about what some guy with 10 followers is replying. Like you can't reply to that guy at your level.
Yeah,
And so it's going to be interesting. I will be seated because I just this does at least feel to be giving Superman a positive iteration. I
mm,
think the thing I'm most scared about is that there's a bunch of side character, like they're bringing in like a Green Lantern guy and like five other heroes, and I'm like, are you trying to set up an extended universe? Or are you trying to tell like a good story? Because if they were just trying to tell a good Superman story, it doesn't require Green Lantern. It doesn't require whoever else is going to show up in this movie. Like, I don't need them. I don't need a team up movie. I know that's kind of where Gunn lives. Like, all of his superhero movies are team up movies,
mm,
but like, you've done that now. Like, do something else. Like, prove to us that you are maybe the greatest comic book director that has lived that can just prove these successes. And it will
I'm I'm
be an
I'm not
interesting
too
watch.
worried about that part. I'm not too worried about like the extra characters thing because I don't think they're going to take up that much screen time. I think it's mostly going to be like 5 to 10 minutes of screen time at
Yeah.
best for
And
most characters.
that'll
That's
be fine. Again, and it's more of the mandate of like I really hope DC now realizes like you can make these big team up movies, but we did the loosely connected story between all of them, like
mm,
one falling into the other with Marvel. I think everyone's a little bit over with that. Like we're done with it.
mm.
It was done. Cool. That was a cool thing they tried. They did it. Done. Like, just make a good Superman movie. And like the Batman, like we covered that very early on when that came out. And like that was a really, really good movie because it was just Batman. And it was just this Batman movie.
Mm.
And it wasn't focused about bringing Superman and Green Lantern and the Flash and all these other people into here so we can make this mega universe. And it's like makes your head hurt trying to think about it.
Mm.
Um, But what this is like, it's so funny talking about all this like politics of it when we're here to discuss the 1978 Superman, which is like none of that is there.
Like,
It's corny, it's goofy. It definitely and when you think of comics at this time, like the dark the Dark Knight and like that adaptation of Batman really comes in the 80s with who's it? Frank Miller
yeah, yeah,
does the Dark Knight Returns, which is
yeah.
like the real reinvention of Batman and really draws a mature audience into Batman. But this is still these like 50s, 60s, 70s, like you had the comic code coming in, so they're all like very
Well,
sanitary, like anti-communist, like kind of stuff. So it's a interesting time from the comics to adapt it because it's just going to be like the comics these guys read growing up as kids. They're going to just
Well, yeah,
adapt.
when you think about the history of Superman, I mean, like for people of our generation, even younger than us, like Superman's just an institution. He's always been there. He's always been
He's a Mickey
around.
Mouse. He's a Mickey
Yeah,
Mouse.
he's like easily like the top three most famous American fictional character, probably.
But we don't, I think most of us that aren't comic book reading, we haven't attached ourselves to a story of his yet that's
In
come
a
out in our
while.
lifetime that's come out in our lifetime. Like people have definitely attached themselves to this first Superman movie, but
Yeah.
I don't think people have attached to themselves, well, I guess some people have attached themselves to Man of Steel, which God bless them, but it's the, the
For the general public, yeah, it hasn't been there. And Superman was still a relatively young character when this movie came out. This came out 50 years ago. I was thinking, doing the math, and I realized,
relatively young character. Superman
no, this movie,
1938, dude.
this movie came out 40 years of the Superman being a thing,
Yeah.
which in like the general lifetime of that is relatively young for that type of character. Where it's just like we never really saw this character on screen before. The At least in the big screen, other than serials and like the George Reeves show, which was very corny, not really
Those
like
ones.
this.
It's a 50s TV show. 50s TV shows are all corny because they were all sponsored by a cigarette company.
Yeah.
Like it was just a way to make you buy cigarettes. There's no artful merit put into it. It was like, let's fill time, people will watch this, and this cigarette company will pay for us to put this production on.
Yeah.
So that's our conversation on the new Superman. We'll definitely discuss it. We might, it depend. I'm going to try to go see it this weekend, Tommy. I hope you do as well.
Yeah.
Maybe we put out an emergency 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how it is over the weekend. Like
Mm.
if it's either really, really good or really, really bad,
Yeah.
we'll find an emergency podcast. If it's like, okay, we'll just talk about it at the top of
And
one of,
especially the box office results too, seeing like what's happening. Like, is
yeah,
Warner Brothers gonna be
the
happy?
the box office results will be interesting. But yeah, it's definitely the most interesting movie of the summer for sure. Just like in terms of its implications and the broader picture of movies in general. And like, I feel like if this fails, like if this does well, I think Fantastic Four will do well. And I think if this does bad, I think people will be like, I already saw one of these movies. I don't need to go see another one. And I think that will do bad. So I think they're
Mm,
weirdly connected together because if
mm.
you got out of a really good superhero movie, I want to go see another one. And then if you don't, like there's so much going on
Well,
here for the future of this,
it's
what's
one thing I
defined
always
cinema for
forget.
15 years, the past 15 years.
There's one thing I always forget. I feel like this is definitely not happening as much, but there's so many like random people that just go see his movies that don't realize that Batman and Spider-Man aren't in the same universe.
Yeah, there's definitely.
There's that too. Yeah.
I wonder if it's a little more cognizant now than it was like, especially at this time, where it's just like, oh,
Oh yeah,
they're all
definitely.
just comic characters. I think now with like MCU versus DC, like it's a little
Mm,
more defined just in the movie realm and the movie world itself. Because realistically, Warner Brothers could have also end up owning Marvel, like at the time, if they like realized the power of it, they probably would have just sold it to them because they weren't so concerned about protecting one IP or the other. And oh, let's just connect. Like, what if Batman and Spider-Man just fly around together? Okay, cool.
mm.
Um, that something that could have easily as well happened in my estimation. But Tommy, let's quickly talk on some movies we saw recently. I think we both saw a big movie in theaters, a big
Yeah,
release.
we did. I saw F1
I
in
saw
IMAX.
I saw F1, but not in IMAX.
IMAX was fun. This was a movie I didn't love. It felt like a 3 out of 5 for me. It felt like it was too long
I
to the
agree with you.
point
It
where,
was 20 minutes too
yeah,
long.
yeah,
Um,
you could have like 20, 30 minutes and this movie would have
it,
been jumped up at least a half a star.
it felt like to me like if this movie was like I was just thinking of like Days of Thunder or just some other
Yeah.
comparable movie where it's like they show you every race and even like the montage is like they say there's 9 races left. They show you like 6 of them in full detail.
Mm.
Like you go through
It,
like you're at each race and then there's like a montage of like 3 races. But in like a movie from the 80s, you'd have your first race where everything fucks up, and then you'd have your montage, and then you'd have your final race where in and out and 110.
Yeah,
versus this was like 245. But to its credit, Joseph Kosinski's very clearly a master of putting machinery to film and really doing
he's
that. And like kind of doing the following, it follows a very similar Top Gun Maverick structure of just, hey, you got to
yeah,
teach a young kid like a variation of
he's
that.
following the footsteps of Tony Scott because Tony Scott went from Top Gun to Days of Thunder.
Yeah,
Um,
he definitely
and
does. But the action is like the rate it feels long, but the race sequences are fantastic. I think if I cut one thing from it, it's like the love story between Sonny and the race director
yeah,
and
Carrie Condon,
Gary
who needs
Condon.
to be in better movies.
Yeah, she does. She was I mean she was great in it. I was just thinking for like time's sake, like it just kind of didn't amount to
Well,
anything
yeah, and
notable.
I feel like the narrative in a lot of the races was very much the same. Like it kind of belabored the same point over and over again about the two characters. Over like the
Yeah.
rookie character was like
He only
I don't
cared about
need
the fame and the
yeah.
thing, but didn't care about getting better. And
And
Sonny's
Brad
like,
Pitt was reckless, but he was trying to help out. And like, all right, we get it. Like you could have just sped up a little bit. I
you,
mean, like
once we
if
get
this
this,
was a
once we get this example once, we don't need it again.
yeah, exactly. So I feel like if I was stronger edit, I would have loved this movie more. But like you said, the racing sequences they rocked, especially like the opening scene with when they play Queen's "We Will Rock You," a song we've heard a million times. But I feel like they never go into the guitar solo when they play
Yeah.
in movies. So just hearing
Oh,
that part was like, all right, this is this is
some
awesome.
some all-time bad needle drops, at least for me, because it was just all like there's a lot of The Weekend in there. Like I like The Weekend, but I feel like with movies, I, I want I want like a deeper cut. I don't want something that's playing on Z100.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, the only songs I really liked was hearing "We Walk." I'm a Queen guy, so but it felt like a creative way of using it. And that song that was playing when Brad Pitt like first tries out for the team and he
Yeah,
goes on the
yeah.
racetrack. I forget what the song was called, but it was like something about like being an old man or something. I thought that song was pretty cool.
Oh, definitely. So I also saw another movie in theaters. My family was in town, and I apparently I said we can do whatever you want, but this movie is playing in theaters. It is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and it's prominent in the city I live in. Can you take a guess what movie I saw in theaters, Tommy?
You saw Nashville?
I saw Nashville in theaters. My it was varying degrees. My brother was like, I liked it. My dad was like, it was too long. My mom was like, it was too long, but it was pretty good.
Yeah.
For me, because I love this movie, and I looked back on my letterbox, I gave it 4.5. I think it's a 5 star. Like I think it's perfect. I
I
think
feel like you gave it 5 stars when we covered on the pod.
maybe I did. I was just going off of what I did on my letterbox. I think it's a movie every time I rewatch it, and I would urge you to revisit this movie because like when you first get thrown into it, you don't know what's going on, and it's
Mm,
so much. And Altman has that style of like overlapping conversations, and it's not super focused in a lot of places. You just pick up on
mm,
more details of what this story is trying to tell you
mm,
and communicate to you in what was a very small town at the time. And
mm,
I think I pick up like 5 to 10 new things every time I rewatch this movie. Hearing it with like theater quality audio and just like on a big screen, just phone off, just looking up at the screen, like just such a fantastic experience and story, just all revolving around fame and like for me this time around it was the remember the British interviewer from the BBC.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That was always fun.
Her story just like it was funny because in a theater the movie was played much funnier in a theater. Like it got a lot of laughs in a
Yeah.
theater versus watching it on the couch by yourself where sometimes it's just you don't get the same laughing reaction that you do when you're
At home, I mean, in theaters, the comedy is so much better. I mean, we're gonna talk about this movie next week in full, but seeing Clueless in theaters just really like made it like, oh yeah, this movie's really fucking funny, and like a way that I laughed at scenes I didn't laugh at before. So, I can see with Nashville too being that way.
yeah and but it was a great screening experience. I loved it.
Mm. You'll be happy. I still listen to the soundtrack on the regular.
Yeah,
So
it's a fantastic soundtrack. Keith Carradine doing "I'm Easy" is it's so much more poignant,
Mm,
like in a theater and just fully engrossed and just it's I was trying we're talking my parents and I were talking about it and discussing like because I said it's just explores the identity of fame, right? And it's a
mm,
song he's playing "I'm Easy" and it's a serenade and there's three women in there who hope that he's singing it about them. He's not singing it about any of them. And this is a famous guitar guy, rock star that all these women want. He could have a girl, but he's just this lonely, sad, empty person, and it's just one side of fame, right? It's
mm.
this empty vessel that like you can have everything that you think you dream of, but it's not going to fulfill what's in your heart, and it's left empty. Like he doesn't get a resolution. It's more of a, this is how these guys live. Do you really want to
Yeah.
be a rock star?
Yeah.
And it's very deep and true, and I just really loved it. But now we're covering another movie from the 1970s. I was actually able to find a TV spot because it's a giant IP and they preserve everything
I'm
for
sure there's a
guys.
ton. Yeah.
This is Superman.
From a doomed planet in a distant galaxy to a fantastic underground hideaway, from the fortress of solitude to the bustling city room of the Daily Planet. Look, up on the screen. It's Superman. Superman, the movie.
So Superman, also known as Superman the movie, the 1978 superhero film based on DC Comics, featuring the eponymous character played by Christopher Reeves, is the first of four installments in the Superman film series starring Reeve as Superman. Film directed by Richard Donner, based on a screenplay by Mario Puzo. Who's Mario Puzo, Tommy?
The Godfather screenwriter.
The novel writer and screenwriter.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
David Newman, Leslie Newman, and Robert Benton, featuring an ensemble cast including Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, Jeff East, Margaret Kidder, Glenn Ford, so on and so forth. They go on and list 10 more names, and I'm like, okay, there wasn't that many characters in this movie.
Yeah.
Um,
First off, are you shocked that this is our fourth Richard Donner movie we've covered on the podcast?
I'm not shocked, but I'm blanking on them.
All right, so second episode we ever did, don't listen to it. We were really
Scrooge.
rough at the time. It was Scrooged. I always forget he directed that movie.
I always forget we
Um,
did Scrooge because I try to forget that we released it. It's still up there if you want to hear how bad of a podcast it was.
yeah, see how we've grown. We've definitely grown in the time since. Lethal Weapon, which I've rewatched last week
That's
too.
right. I was gonna say Lethal Weapon. I was like 99% positive.
Yeah, and the movie still rocks. Awesome. And then The Goonies, which we covered like
Mm.
last year.
But isn't
So
that also like a Shadow Spielberg movie, like a true Shadow?
he
Like
per no, no, he produced it, but it was definitely Donner through and through.
it was Donald through and through. I thought he was like he did like 60% of it or something.
No, that the only movie that has a rumor of is Poltergeist, which
But
we'll
he's
eventually cover.
Spielberg has vehemently denied any involvement in that other than producing it.
Yeah,
So who knows? We weren't on set. We might find all this stuff out when they die. Here's hoping that they just like all the mysteries and secrets. I just hope somebody writes them all down and like a Spielberg just writes them all down in a
a
book.
tell all. Well,
A
like
tell all like
think
once I'm dead, just re reveal it all. I don't care.
yeah. Thankfully, this movie had a lot of production notes, and especially with Richard Donner. So originally Superman was filmed back to back, and they were going to do like Superman 1, Superman 2 back to back, and they decided like halfway through production or something like they're like, okay, let's just focus strictly on Superman 1, and then
Smart decision.
yeah, like we'll see what we have, and like if Superman 1's not good, no one's gonna see Superman 2, so there's no reason to do it. They shot like 75% of Superman 2, and Richard Donner was like feuding with the producers so much in this movie, like to the point that like he refused to like to speak to them, and vice versa. It's like this guy like Pierre Spengler, and they had to hire Richard Lester, who's this guy who shot like Hard Day's Night and like all these other good movies. and he was pretty much the liaison between the producer and Richard Donner because they just wouldn't talk. And then eventually,
I just
they just
like that they had to use a messenger boy that was also a director to just,
yeah, like
can
a
you
very
please
famous.
tell, can you please tell the producer that I'm trying to do this? Like, it's just very funny.
Yeah, yeah. And Richard Lester ended up being that when Superman 1 came out, they fired Richard Donner for Superman 2 because like fuck this, I'm not gonna deal with him again. And Richard Lester ended up directing Superman 2 and Superman 3. So um that's
Have
how it
you
goes.
have you seen the other Reeves Superman?
I've watched a little bit of 2, but overall no. So
I'm so curious, like that there were four of them. Superman 4 is infamously one of the great bad movies of all time.
they
So
literally just did not have a budget for it.
I'm very tempted to. In hindsight, I wish we just covered Superman 4 because I just think it would be very funny to cover like a horrific movie.
And we still can.
We still can. They're really hoping there's going to be a sequel to Superman. So once that comes out in 7 years, we can cover Superman 4
Yeah.
because they can't. Everything moves at a snail's pace now because we have to film it for $400 million. It's crazy to me that the sentence there just wasn't enough budget for a Superman movie was ever uttered.
Yeah. That's where it was in the late 80s, and it's insane because like the next year we had Batman, I think.
Batman,
It was like
yeah.
Batman was I think a year or two after Superman 4. So like
Superman 4 was 89 or 87, and then Batman was 89.
yeah. And it is interesting thing of the legacy of this movie because obviously this is very influential for so many comic book movies, but it's kind of shocking that like in the early 80s and like late 70s we didn't have a wave of imitators of this movie. Like you would have thought that that would have been when like Marvel would have been like,
Gets
okay,
your
let's dust
Spider-Mans,
off.
your Thors, your Captain America movies, just ship them out into theaters. There was the infamous Orion Pictures Fantastic Four that was just made for rights retainal but never wide released. It's
Yeah,
just
but that was
like
also like
on,
14 years after this movie.
oh, was it that late? Because
It's
it
like
was like made on a shoestring budget, so it kind of looked out of the 1970s, not for nothing.
no, that was like a 80s thing. That was a 90s thing actually.
Oh wow, okay,
So,
so I was off. Yeah,
but
really that
you would
late?
have expected like
Was the
you would,
Captain? There were Captain America movies or in the
but they
eight.
were made for TV.
Oh, they were okay.
Yeah. So, and apparently they're god awful. I think I saw like a little bit of on Sci-Fi Channel once. I was like, what am I watching?
I remember one of the times, the first time I went to Universal Studios and the Island of Adventure, they have the Marvel thing, and I was like infatuated with Captain America. And then we were at Blockbuster, and I saw they had the blue or the DVD of that Captain America movie, and my dad was like, "No, no, 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 I'm not spending $3 on you for you to rent this piece of trash."
Yeah, yeah.
God awful movie. Wasn't that Matthew Broderick? Am I mistaken? Am I crazy?
No. This was like this was literally in the 70s. So it was like
Oh,
some guy who I think was like in Revenge of the Nerds or something like that. I know Christopher Lee showed up in the sequel, but as we both Google, who's the guy in film? Let's see. It's
you
so
can
bad
tell
when
we
you search
didn't.
Captain America.
You can tell that we did not plan to discuss Captain America here today, but here we are. I Googled Matthew Broderick, and apparently there was an art director on the Captain America movies named Matthew Broderick, but not the guy we're thinking of here. I don't know why I thought that.
The lead of the Captain America movie from the late 70s is called his name was Reb Brown. And he was known for movies called The Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf, Strike Commando, and Space Mutiny. So that's what they were getting at the time.
We might need to make a spin-off bad movie podcast because every time you
Yeah.
dive deeper into this, there's just so much garbage. There's so much filth.
There's so much out there of just like what is this trash we're doing?
And
Because
I feel like this podcast is really made up of at least movies with good like we've really never covered a true just like this is a piece of garbage movie. Like we've
well,
got movies
in
we
the way of like it at least has a legacy or has something impact or something like that. We never
yeah,
covered a movie that like
like
yeah, we've covered movies we hated,
we
but
didn't like the
other
perks of
people
being
like them.
yeah, we didn't like the perks of being a wallflower, but it's a popular movie that is loved by millions of people, so we're just on the opposite side of that take.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's not a it has nothing to do with like the movie itself versus like if we covered like Plan 9 from Outer Space, right? Just easy example. It's like this is a bad movie. We all
Mhm.
know it's a bad movie, but it's funny to laugh at.
Yeah.
It could be in the cards one day. But Superman, let's get back on topic here because we're vamping about not talking about it. I really want to shout out John Williams here.
Mhm.
What a heater this man was on.
Mhm.
Within a 4 year span, he has Jaws, Star Wars, and Superman come out.
Yeah, and Raiders, I think, was what, like within a
81.
5 year. Yeah, it sounds like 6 years or something. But
Well, I mean,
still,
his stretch is incredible, but I mean, this is like Jaws put him on the map, Star Wars cemented it, and then it was just Superman onwards. He just took off like a shot. You even have Close Encounters, which is like not one of Spielberg's like iconic, but a great movie with a really great theme in there too. Like,
mm,
like John Williams is ultimately like is easily the greatest film composer of all time. It's not
there's
no debate to it.
yeah. I mean, like you have some of the most iconic themes to the point that like other superheroes when like they get rebooted, they're like, oh, we gotta use a different score. We gotta make our own stamp with Superman. They're like, we have to use the John
John
Williams
Williams.
score.
Well, didn't they
Like
not use it in the Man of Steel, if I'm remembering correctly? Because they're like, oh, we're taking a darker, edgier tone. This is no place in it. And then
they might have, but I feel like they probably used it in like some
there's
promotional
not
things. But
a motif of it somewhere in there, but James Gunn was like, no, we're just gonna use the Superman theme. Like it's still played today. Like the Nashville Fourth of July show, they literally played the Superman theme over fireworks, the Nashville Symphony.
yeah, literally, it's like synonymous with like Fourth of July celebrations. That's how
It's
great
synonymous
it
with
is.
it's synonymous with
Um,
America.
and there was one thing when like when I was watching this movie today. This is the second time I watched this movie this year. First time was early this year when Gene Hackman died. I wanted to watch a good Gene Hackman movie, and I was like, oh, Superman, right there.
It's a
Just
fun Hackman performance, isn't it?
Mhm.
It, he is just hamming it up a little bit here. And he's
Mhm.
coming off of his 70s run, and he's, arguably the greatest actor of his generation. And it feels so weird because now all of our big stars are pretty much associated with these movies.
Mhm.
But like you have Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman in supporting roles in this movie. Like at the time, like I'm you said you had some info on Marlon Brando. I'm just stunned how they got Brando in this movie.
Well, first of all, they paid him like a fuck ton of money. I forget the exact amount, something like 2.1 million at least.
Also said he
And
sued Warner Brothers for $50 million because he felt he was cheated out of his share of the box office profits.
yeah. So there's that too. So apparently Brando suggested when he was talking with like Richard Donner about the movie, he was like, so my cameo role as Jor-El will should be done like in voiceover only. The character's image will be on screen, being a glowing, levitating green bagel. And
Bagel?
Richard, yeah, I'm not kidding, like a green bagel. And Richard Donner was like, "No, we're not doing that. Are you kidding me?" And then Brando was like, come on! Like no one knows who the people on Krypton look like, and like so this will good work. They can blend in and everything like that." And then Tom Mankiewicz, who wrote this movie, who did a rewrite on this movie, like said that Brando even pitched the idea. Yeah, maybe Kryptonians don't even talk. Maybe they just make electric sounds or translated through subtitles. And Donner was like, "No, we're not doing any of this shit. Are you kidding me? Like, fuck off, Brando." And apparently that was like a test that Brando used to get to Richard Donner. So it was so bad on set that like for Brando, he didn't even bother learning his lines. So like cue cards are just laid out throughout the set for Brando to read
You
off
can
of. And
kind
you
of
can
tell.
kind of
You can
you
kind of tell.
especially in the scenes where he's like talking to like baby Superman in like the fucking crib wherever.
Oh,
He's clearly reading off a cue card right there. He's like, "Oh, Superman, will be greater than all of them."
it's also very funny to me that he because it opens up and he's like, "This is the High Council of Krypton." He calls it. It's like Krypton. Like it's a staple of Americana. Is like Superman's from Krypton. It's like question one on bar trivia. It's
Yeah,
something somebody at your table is gonna know the answer to that question because they've seen one of these movies. He's like, Krypton. I'm just like, oh,
he didn't even
Brando
bother.
didn't he didn't bother, and Donner's just like, I'm not gonna fight with him on this. I'm not getting him to say Krypton because then Superman's like, I when he does the interview with Lois Lane, I'm from the planet Krypton. He says it with the hard O instead of Krypton. He's like silent on the O. It's
Yeah.
very funny. The beginning of this is so fun. It's just so 70s and it's so crazy to me too because
Mm.
Star Wars just came out.
Yeah.
Superheroes, whatever. It's in the science fiction realm, science fantasy. There's another fantasy film.
Mm.
And you put Superman, like it's this slow pace. Like Star Trek, the motion picture has the same issue where it's like, feels like they were more influenced by 2001: A Space Odyssey than they were by Star Wars. Which,
Mm.
if I'm a producer of this movie, I'm like, I don't know. Use Star Wars. Use Star Wars as the template. We're not using 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's a template for this. I want to make money. People want
Mm.
getting used to faster paced movies. Like make this thing. When I saw 220 on the runtime, I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah. It
I
should
was
not
like,
be that long.
my eyes popped out of my head. I was like a cartoon, like
Yeah.
a Garuga. I was like, "What? It's
Yeah,
nuts."
they went all out for it, and the fact that like apparently when Tom Mankiewicz rewrote the script, so apparently there's like so first Mario Puzo did the first draft, and then he had a rewrite by Robert Benton and David Newman. They like wrote like Bonnie and Clyde, Kramer versus Kramer, and their script was like campy as hell. It had like the guy from Kojak like cameoing as his character, and like what's up baby or whatever. So like super stupid, probably like similar to Batman 60s. And then Tom Mankiewicz, the son of Mank himself,
Mm.
from you know
Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane,
Tommy
he
knew Tommy knew the movie Mank that David Fincher came out with and was trying to piece together which movie it was. Because I did you watch Mank?
I have not watched Mank,
Yeah,
but
so you were
I've not
just
gotten
like
Manx.
you knew the name and you were just like, what was the big movie he was in again that he's known
Yeah,
for?
well, I knew it was that. But anyways,
We gotta
Tom
cut.
Mankiewicz.
We have to cover Citizen Kane.
That is a big one we have to check off. So Tom Mankiewicz, he does another rewrite on the script, and the rewrite is like 550 pages. Richard Donner's like, yeah, I know we're trying to write like two movies, but like we need to cut this down. Like that's four movies right there. Like
No one's sitting through a 4 hour cut of Superman.
tell it to the Snyder Cut fans.
No, yeah. I
Got you right
I'm
there. You set yourself up for that one.
I'm gonna give. I don't want to hear this man's. I know you like his Dawn of the Dead remake, but I don't want to hear this man's name again. Okay, he
That's the only thing I'll defend him on. So, and besides, that was also written by James Gunn. So there's, he has a good script.
little synergy there.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's just it's so bizarre to me because it starts in this weird sci-fi setting of Krypton,
Mm.
and it's Marlon Brando monologuing like a sentence, and you have Captain Zod and I'm guessing other Superman villains being punished.
Yeah.
And then you have the council who are like on these screens behind them saying guilty, guilty. Like you don't know what's going on. It's just like guilty. I'm like, this is how this starts?
Yeah.
It's like it usually just starts with like Krypton blowing up and then
You
suddenly,
would almost expect that like one little scene to be like a post-credit scene. That's what it would have been today.
oh
Just
yeah,
them setting it up and be like, oh, that's what the sequel is. He's gonna fight Zod. Instead, it's the intro to your franchise.
to your Superman movie.
Yeah. Like I get like you have to introduce the Marlon Brando, like Jor-El, like
Jor-El,
he
yeah.
sends him. But like you could have easily just like cut out that part and be like, oh, look at this one, like I don't know, you find some bullshit, he's the Fortress of Solitude. He
The
sees the clip.
it felt like it felt like that there were two scenes that they were able to get through with Brando. Like Brando is top billed in this movie, which makes sense. Christopher Reeve is fairly unknown at this point. Like he's obviously best known as Superman.
He was like an off Broadway
Broadway
actor. Like
actor.
he was like doing plays with like Jeff Daniels like years before Dumb and Dumber, before either of them were even like a known name.
Yeah, and like he had connections. Like he was famously roommates at Juilliard with Robin Williams. Like
Mm.
Like he obviously, and his father was played Superman, so that's obviously why they're like, oh, this is a he looks like his father. Like, let's see what he's got, and he got the part.
No,
Um,
I don't think he was. His father was
his
Superman.
father, his father, his father, George Reeves was Superman.
No, his father was not George Reeves.
What?
George Reeves is not related to him in any way, shape, or form.
That's
Or
what
no,
you
I'm not kidding you.
really?
Yeah, George Reeves is just a guy who happened to have the same name. I just Google it. No, they're not at all.
Father is F.D. Reeves, so that he's a poet and a Russian translator. So,
So it's George Reeves and Christopher Reeve.
okay,
So two
maybe
different last
maybe to
names.
be a because we haven't had a successful Superman since Christopher Reeve. Maybe you need to be a Reeve. Like you have to.
Uh,
This is the last name. Like you.
so real quick on a tangent, before we recorded, I also watched a Christopher Reeve documentary on HBO called Superman: The Christopher Reeve Story. And it touched upon like when he got cast in the role that like he had difficult relationship with his father growing up and all that, and his father like was not proud of the fact that his son got Superman. He thought that it was like a joke and like, oh, like
He's
what
a
are you
he's
doing?
a
Like,
poet. Oh, you're selling out for commercials.
yeah, like this is just like some bullshit. Why are you doing this? So it's really like crazy in that aspect. But like they were thinking originally of going like with some big star. Like they offered this to Clint Eastwood. They offered this to like fucking Robert
Clint,
Redford. They offered it to James Caan. James Caan was like, "There's no way I was putting on that suit." Like straight
Clint,
up.
Clint as Superman is so funny. Oh
Yeah.
my
Well,
God.
apparently, like DC, like when they were making this movie, like at first, like had a very difficult process of like, here's who you can cast as Superman, and it was like for some reason Charles Bronson was on the list. Can you imagine Charles Bronson as fucking Superman with the mustache?
Drunk,
He wouldn't have shaved the mustache.
he definitely would not have drunk Charles Bronson being Superman. Oh my God, dude.
So eventually, they're like, maybe it's a better idea to go with like an unknown, and Reeve is fantastic in this role.
Oh, he's
Um,
so great. He's so great. I'm more impressed with how he plays Clark.
Mhm. He's
I'm,
easily, I mean, I think he's easily the best Superman, but he's also easily the best Clark Kent because you can really buy why people don't,
why he's so
connect the dots.
it's so auspicious.
Yeah. Like
Um,
the one scene where, I won't talk about this whole scene in general, but like the one scene where like he takes Lois on the date and then he pretty much like is like thinking of like talking to Lois and like telling him and like he has his like shoulders all up and stuff like that. And then he immediately goes into Clark mode and he's like hunched over and just
and Reeve does these little things too, like especially in that scene, because so there's the famous scene where Lois Lane and Superman do their interview, and he takes her
mm,
flying, very romantic, beautiful John Williams score underneath it, and then
mm.
they come back, and then he flies off, and then instantaneously you just hear the clumsy knock of Clark. Lois, did you forget about our date? Which I and he comes in, and it's just these like these little like he takes off the glasses like to kind of tell him and he's standing up all straight and then he puts them back on just thinking better of it to hide it
Mm.
and then he is it's just these like little smirks like because you can tell like Lois Lane is very flat like
Mm.
if you become attracted to Superman no other guy's really gonna cut for you, you know, that's a
Yeah.
tough it's a tough ex-boyfriend to follow, if you catch my drift. Uh,
Mm.
no man is going to be able to do it better. Also, can I just say the weirdest line of dialogue in this movie that I cannot believe this was thrown in there was they're discussing Superman's X-rays ability, and she goes, so what color underwear am I wearing? He's like, well, there's lead. I can't see through lead. And like the scene continues, and he just goes, pink. Do you like pink? Yes, I do like pink. I was like,
He's like pink and it's like
I was like, what? I was like,
so I guess this is a good point to like just discuss this scene in general. Margot Kidder and like Christopher Reeve just have so much chemistry in that one scene. It's like the ideal of what every like comic book movie wants when they have a romantic subplot in this.
oh yeah.
Of just that one scene, like just the like play off and the banter between them talking back and forth and like how like cute and charming it is.
It's horny.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely is. And then just like
It's really horny for a seven. not for a 70s movie, but for like a Superman movie, I'm like, this is horny.
Yeah.
This is might be the most horny superhero scene of all time.
And you can feel the tension too. And like
Yeah,
also just like the when I was watching it today, just when they take off flight and like the John Williams score kicks in right there, instant goosebumps. And it's just a way of just like fills you with so much wonder and whimsy of like you could feel how Lois is just like enraptured in the moment of just like, oh my God, I'm flying right now. And
well,
then how do you feel about the voiceover? Like, can you read my mind? Do you know
I
where I
it was
am?
so it's
Yeah.
so out of pocket. It's like
It is, but it works for me.
listen, this whole thing works for me in this charming, goofy way of just like you take a bunch of people like and gotta realize like this is like it's kind of like the NBA and comic books were in a real dark period together here in the late 70s. Like
Yeah.
this is their bad times.
Yeah.
And it like so DC doesn't really have a bunch of leverage other than like Superman's the most iconic superhero in the world. He's the most iconic American character you have.
Mm,
Like you'll make money off of this, and they're like, yeah, you're right, we will. And it's kind of weird because in an era where the rules of filmmaking start getting broken, like Lois Lane randomly having a voiceover is like 100% of breaking the rules of what you should do in this movie. Like you don't need it there,
mm.
but it's just this cute moment of like, and I'm also sitting there just like, is he just gonna, is Christopher Reeve's voice just about to pop up here and be like, yes, I can, Lois, even though, like, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not a Superman power, but I imagine a Superman movie from the 1970s doesn't give a shit. Like, they don't
I feel
care.
like Superman's powers are whatever the writer wants it to be. Where
Yes,
like
it
over the
doesn't.
years, he's had so many things where it's like, oh, now he has ice breath. Now he has heat vision. Like he
So
didn't even
if
originally
you're
fly.
if you're Mario Puzo, who wrote The Godfather, and it's based off of his real life interactions with gangsters and like romanticizing it and putting that all together, right? Like you've created what it was at the time considered the greatest movie of all time. Like, and then you gotta flip through Superman comics to write a screenplay. You're just gonna be like these are guys who grew up in like the Depression. They're like this is
Well, it's
like the nostalgia like this nostalgia that we're all used to does not exist in the way for these characters because it was Saturday morning cartoon stuff. It was kids like Superman is at his best a, a superpower fantasy, right? You're a young
yeah.
boy, you're mad at your parents, they grounded you, you read a Superman comic, you can beat up the world, and you identify that within yourself.
Mm.
This is like the like
Well, when you think of like the old like golden age of Superman comics, especially like in the Silver Age and like the 50s and 60s and even 70s, there's so many subplots. I was just like, oh no, Lois Lane got turned into a baby and now Superman's actually with Lana Lang instead. Just like really cheesy, like bullshit things like that, where it's like, oh, Superman is now a woman somehow. He got transformed, and how's he gonna turn back?
well, and I think the identity because the 70s and the 80s when these like collectors markets for this stuff that at the time like comic book from the 1940s was 20, 30 years old, so it wasn't as it's like buying a comic from the 90s now, so it wasn't as hard to find, but they were obviously just most of them were disposed of, and
Yeah,
it's in the 80s when they start going like, hey, adults read this stuff too. There's actually a big market of adults who would read this stuff. Why don't we tell, actual stories? Like they just kind of turned into like soaps,
mm,
just like this happens and what's going to happen next? Find out in the next edition of Superman. And it's just like cheap,
yeah.
lazy storytelling. Like, so that's what these guys like. Because if I'm Mario Puzo, I got to write a Superman. I'm going to the comic book shop, or if that even existed at the time, or I'm going to the newsstand or wherever you buy comic books. I'm buying whatever they got. I'm going to like, I'm sure in like New York City, LA, you find comic. Give me all the Superman you got. You're just reading through stuff from the 50s, 60s, and you're just like, what is this? Like, who is this for? Because for kids, you're just like, I liked this crap when I was five. Like, it's just so simple. So they definitely felt like they had the freedom to do whatever they wanted with the character. And you definitely, it was a moment of self-control and respect, and I wonder if DC had any influence in not having Superman communicate telepathically, because it definitely feels like something they wanted to do.
Well, apparently the original part of the scene was that she was gonna sing the song, sing those lines,
Uh,
and it was gonna be like Margot Kitty, which would have been like exponentially worse, like the
oh,
voiceover.
Well, it was
And
it's
appa-
this movie is oozes with charm, and it all comes from Reeves.
yeah, but and thankfully though, apparently though that like song that she was gonna sing, some other random 70s singer ended up like performing it as a song and released a single of it, and it like charted at like number 55 of the Billboards, like 79 or something. But yeah, like you said, the charm of Reeves, fantastic. Like he is just so just like charming, like right off the wit, and like when he's just talking to like so many people, and even when like he's like trying to be menacing and stuff like that. I love Otis, who we haven't really talked about
Oh, we
yet in this
have. I
movie.
was literally just looking at Ned Beatty, which
Yeah,
fantastic supporting.
great comedic like performance, comedic relief, and just I love the scene where like he breaks into Lex Luthor's lair, Superman, and then like he's like Gene Hackman's like Otis, why don't you take his coat right there? And then Superman just glares at Otis. And he's like, I don't think he wants me to, Mr. Luthor. The way he says Mr. Luthor too, like every
And,
time.
and it's so funny. Like I just watched Ned Beatty in Nashville again, and he's like kind of like a grimy lawyer, slimy guy. And then he's just playing this goofy idiot 3 years later in Superman, and it's very different, very contrasting. It just shows like the range that someone like Ned Beatty has. Uh,
Mm.
it's very funny too. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and like all the characters have like a paragraph to them, and then it says Ned Beatty is Otis, Lex Luthor's bumbling henchman.
That's all you need to know.
That's all
But
you need to know.
it's funny that he's like our intro into the world of Lex Luthor too. Like he buys
That
like
was a
the
gr-
newspaper
that was a
thing. That's a
great
great scene.
that was a great scene of the cops following him. Like, oh, are we gonna get super? Because we, in the beginning, we get sent to Superman gets sent to the planet, gets adopted by Pa Ma Kent. We just see him growing up and then go into the Fortress of Solitude for like 11 years, they say. He's just in the Fortress of Solitude, absorbing everything that his father prepared for him. And
Mm.
then Ma Kent is out of the movie, by the way. You didn't even get one of like, hey, mom, I'm alive. I gotta go write for the Daily Planet now because the script says I'm in love with Lois Lane. Because he's in love with Lois Lane the second he lays eyes on her.
Mm. Oh
And
yeah.
it's not even like set up cinematically. It's one of those things where just taking it for granted because it was like if you knew anything about Superman at the time, it's like Superman and Lois Lane. Okay, they go together. So Clark Kent walks into the Daily Planet, getting shown around. There's not like a moment of like Lois Lane like looking over him, and then it cuts to Reeve like camera zooms in a little bit, right? Like eyes fixating, like, oh, okay, he's really digging into her. It's just like implied that that Superman and Lois Lane go together, and this movie is going to do that.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
like very, very implicit there.
Uh yeah. I just love the like early on interplay between them when like they're walking down the street and they get like mugged by some guy, and like Clark Kent has to figure out a way to like stop the mugging and like stop them getting shot without revealing he's Superman. It's like the little hijinks of that, and when they really lean into the cheese of the premise, I think this movie works like exponentially.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Um, can we talk about Jackie Cooper as Perry White? He's the boss at the Daily
Yeah,
Planet. He was
he's fun.
so funny. Like it's funny thinking of Spider-Man now
Mm.
and J. Jonah Jameson because this is just J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, essentially.
This is essentially they just ripped J. Jonah Jameson from. I don't know if this character existed in the Superman
Perry
comic.
White was like before, but basically they're the same type of archetype of just like an angry newspaper editor.
Yeah, it's just the same. He didn't hate Superman or anything, but it was just, come
I
on, you've
love
been standing around here. I'm paying you to write, not to stand. Like,
I think the one of my like stand-up moments of this movie it involves Perry White when all of a sudden Superman hears like the high frequency that
oh, that
only
was a great part. Yeah, the
yeah,
left.
and like the dolly the I don't know if it's dolly shot, but the tracking shot of like how it follows Superman from like Perry White's office where he's still rambling. Does he smoke? Does he have kids? Does he have a relationship? Does he have this? It's just so fucking funny, just like how he's going on and on and on and on while like this emergency is happening that only Superman can hear. And the cinematography of that moment really like sells it too of just like the menace
Oh
that is
yeah,
Luthor.
it's really well shot.
Yeah.
This movie. Margot Kidder. We didn't talk about her much. Lois Lane. How did you feel she portrayed Lois Lane? You are a resident comic book expert, even if you're not a Superman comic book expert. Because I did ask you before the show, is like, So did you read Superman at all? And you're like, no, not at all, dude.
Barely. Sometimes I read it, but like overall, I was more of a Batman and Marvel guy in general. But I think Margot Kidder, she's a romantic interest that works in these movies. Sometimes in superhero movies, like when they cut to romance plot, it's just like, all right, let's get this over with. Let's just get this done with. Let's just cut these scenes out. This is unnecessary. Like the worst example I can think of is like the Green Lantern movie when Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively like have any scenes together. And it's just like, all right, skip past this. But
I remember seeing that with you.
you probably did.
And I know, I distinctly remember going to the AMC in Port Chester and seeing it with you. And I remember we walked out like that was bad.
Yeah.
And I haven't thought about it since.
Yeah. So exactly. But I think Lois Lane, she's just a good like following herself, and I could honestly see a movie of her just like being like a like go-getter newspaper reporter, and that could be
She
an
definitely
interesting
has
movie in itself.
she has a spark and an energy to her as the newspaper columnist. I
Mhm.
do like that they adapt the stories as well to like what would be written in like the Daily Planet in the 1970s because it's all about like sex trafficking on the Upper East Side and like rape case. And I'm like, this is a Superman movie for kids. Why are they talking about like rape as the news story? Like
And like
it has
making fun
nothing
of
to
how
do.
she can't. They make fun of how she can't spell rapist
Yeah,
right.
she can't spell well. It's like rape has one P, not two. It's
Yeah.
like it's like what? But it's funny. It's very charming, and I the it comes down to the chemistry of Lois Lane and Superman.
Mhm.
And they just, Kidder and Reeve very clearly had chemistry. I was listening to Amy Poehler's podcast. She had Dakota Johnson on.
Mhm.
Dakota Johnson was saying she got a tip once that the best way to spell chemistry, like romantic chemistry, or no, this is Amy Poehler explaining this on Parks and Rec, was the tip she got was look at the character that you like when they're not paying attention to you. And I feel like you can kind of see that with Reeve, like he's always looking at Lois. He's the only one he has eyes on if you like pay attention to it when he's in the background of shots. Like
Mhm.
that is who he is always focused on. And it really sells that connection. And then it's the same counterpoint with Superman, like you can tell Lois is digging those red trunks, man.
Oh, like the scene when Superman saves her in the helicopter, which the special effects of this movie, I feel like mostly hold up for me.
It's clearly a green screen, but it holds up, man, because it's a lot of there's no like they didn't really have digital, but like it's all
Yeah,
practical.
yeah, exactly. So like the flying scenes, like they work and everything, but the scene in the helicopter where like they like Lois gets saved and like right after where like she's like, now you should be careful when you fly, and she's like, uh-huh, 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 and just so like, oh my God, like who is this like amazing man that just saved my life?
Who is this
Uh
hunk? Who is this hunk of steel?
so this also ties into the ending of the movie with Lois Lane. Like, how do you think about the whole Superman cop out turns back time to save Lois and everything?
We were
Like they
talking
ropes
before. I should have mentioned it when I was talking about before about how like yeah, these guys are just gonna write whatever they want. There's a little foreshadowing on my part there. Like they're just gonna write the character to do what they want at this point. They're not gonna be dictated by comic book nerds. Like these people did, believe me, nerd culture was underground and they could not care less what a nerd had to say. They couldn't care, could
Yeah.
not care. It's just Superman turning around the time to save Superman, and then it cuts back because like we very clearly hear Jor-El say like you can't interfere with human history the beginning of the movie, and then they
Yeah.
play that voice again, and then Pa Kent telling Superman his final words before he has a stroke and dies is like, "You're here on this earth to do great things. What it is, I don't know yet." And
Mhm.
the thing he's here to do is to save the woman he loves by
Yeah.
turning around, by changing the planet's speed and turning around time.
It's just so fucking wild in a way where it's like really like this is where we're going with. In a way, I kind of do like it because like it does tie into the beginning of the movie when like his Paquette dies, who was played by Glenn Ford, who was like a mainline actor of the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Yeah,
But anyways, when Glenn Ford dies as Pa Kent, like teenage Clark is like, I have all these powers, yet I couldn't do anything to save him.
Yeah, dude,
And
it
that,
ties
in a
in.
way, is the thesis of a Superman character. And I think that this movie gets what makes Superman so entertaining. That for Superman, the good conflicts aren't, is this guy gonna beat the shit out of Superman? It's, can Superman save Lois Lane in time?
Well, no, it's can Superman save the day while also doing the right things? Right
Yeah.
thing is the thesis of Superman. I think that's why he's connected with people. In a world that has since Superman's reveal, the world has just seemingly gotten darker and darker and darker. He is
Mm,
a brighting sun and doing the right thing, like a shining star. Do the right thing. You can
mm,
be strong, you can be all these things, but you can also do it the right way.
mm,
And I think that's an important message. It hasn't really translated to screen since here. And as we talked about at the beginning of the show, like we're going to see if they can nail it this time. And I feel like if there's one person that can do it, it's Gunn, but we don't need to talk about that. But it's very weird how like we just cut to Lex Luthor's lair and he's just talking about kind of what he wants to do, but it's not really revealed to us yet what he wants to do. It's just that he doesn't like Superman. And then he
mm,
does the pitch thing to Superman in the ear and he goes to the lair and the great scene, total
mm.
rewatchable of
Yeah.
Lex and Superman connecting for the first time.
And
Um,
even just like the comedic moments again with Otis, where like he reveals the whole map of like this whole scene, and then
yeah,
he's like, "Oh, and this is gonna be Luthorville, and this is gonna be there, and oh, Otisburg, Otisburg,"
it's just a small town, Mr. Luther.
and like you just feel like the hatred on Gene Hackman, where like there wasn't as many like interesting Gene Hackman stories like there were of like Brando, but I feel like having both those guys in the movie must have been like a hell of a set.
A nightmare in talent management, an absolute nightmare.
And
And
no wonder, on top of Richard Darn not speaking to the producers.
yeah, it's like a miracle this movie came out okay, like as it good as it did.
Yeah.
It's very, but it,
Just imagining just like
it
even
seems like Gene Hackman understood the assignment in this movie. Like
mm,
it seems like he got paid. He didn't really give a shit, but he got paid. I was like, I'm playing a super villain who wants to cut off the coast of Carolina so I can own all the land there. I'm just gonna have some fun with this. Like you could tell he's having
mm.
fun as Lex Luthor.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
he's definitely like chewing the scenery like in the best way possible.
but not like over the top campy, just in like a Gene Hackman angry way. And
Mm.
it's just so dilettante. And it's
Because it gets to the great point of like Gene Hackman in general as an actor, where like so many of his scenes are literally just him dressing down Ned Beatty.
yeah,
It's amazing.
that's half of his performance. It's also
Yeah,
funny when they go they sneak into military equipment to like reprogram these rockets and Otis gets it wrong. It was that part felt very Saturday morning cartoon where it's like in a modern movie, like Otis is dead. Like
yeah, yeah.
they killed
At
this
what
guy.
point would like Lex Luthor be like, "Why do I have this Otis guy around? Like,
Why
fuck
is
him."
Otis around here? And like Lex
Yeah,
Luthor is, it's very funny too, because like now you think of Lex Luthor, it's like the tall building in the top of Metropolis. Also, I love how they didn't even try to camouflage the fact that this was New York City. Like this was just very clearly New York City with
yeah,
the Daily Planet in it. That's all
mm,
this was.
yeah,
But like he's like his hidden base is hidden on a train track in New York City. Like that's where his base is. It's not like you think of like the glass building that's 80 stories high and he's on the top office there, right? Like I'm sure that's what they're gonna do in the new one. This is just like a hidden base and like nobody knows who Lex Luthor is, but apparently he owns half the real estate in the country. And like the way the plot ties together is that Lois Lane is out there interviewing people who are getting their land bought up, this useless desert land in record numbers. Why is it getting bought up? And like just ask interviewing these people, and she gets caught out there. And that's how like the two stories of it, because it's really like the main story is of Lois and Clark, like Clark falling for Lois, and Lois slowly starting to piece together that Clark is Superman,
mm,
and then Lex Luthor trying to make a bunch of money, and
yeah.
Superman saving the day.
And it's funny because like, what's the downfall of Gene Hackman more than anything is that he is just like way too arrogant. He
So arrogant, can't be stopped, but he doesn't realize he's going against Superman, and it's Mrs. Teschmacher, played
yeah,
by Valerie Perrine, is like his muse, I guess. Like I don't know what she is. She's just the girl that's there. That's kind of a henchman, but
he's
kind
just
of
his girlfriend or
just
whatever.
his girlfriend or whatever. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm sending two rockets, one to California." It's like, okay, that's your plan. He's like, "What's the other one going, Lex?" Like you would think you might need two rockets to split off a part of the Earth
Mm.
and create shoreline, but who am I to know? And it's like I'm sending the other one from Hoover Dam to Hackensack, New Jersey. And then it's like, no, but my mom's in Hackensack. And he's like, I don't care. And then when he puts
Yeah.
the kryptonite necklace on Superman and trying to drown him, she's like, will you go to Hackensack first and save my mom? And he's like, I know you won't break a promise, Superman.
Just straight up, just like, and then like, she's like, I gotta make out Superman now, real quick, and it's like,
And she
all
just
right.
kisses Superman. She's just like, Christopher Reeve, what's going on? How you doing, cowboy? In those little red trunks.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
All right, Tommy, who is the star of the show? We've talked different than some other episodes. We actually have talked a lot about the performances because this movie's like story is so it's such an interesting structure to it.
I
Feels
think that the best part of this
all
movie is the
about the character.
performances
It's
and the
easily.
direction. Yeah, between that, the script is probably the weakest part of the three. Because even the music is like fantastic and so iconic.
I think the script is fine. It's just like there's just like nothing really happens in it.
Well,
You know,
exactly, yeah, and like it is an
there's
origin
no
movie.
story to it. There's great character stuff in there, but there's no story to it.
Exactly, like we don't really find the story until the last like 30 minutes, where we know that Lex Luthor's out there, but we don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Um, so, but overall, Christopher Reeve, I mean, breakout role for him. This was one of those roles where because he was unknown at the time. I mean, his whole life. I mean, granted, his life obviously had that tragic accident in like '95 that happened that derailed everything. But even before that, he was an actor just known for doing Superman. And you could say he's probably been better in other movies, but this is easily his most iconic role, without a doubt. I mean, like, the physical performances he gives in this movie is fantastic, and we haven't really seen. Like, I haven't seen Henry Cavill do anything when he was Clark Kent that
No,
made him seem
people like
anything
Henry
different.
Cavill because he says he likes Warhammer 40K and is really good looking, but it's like he was like okay as Superman. Like his best role was in which Rogue Nation was which one was whichever one he was in.
Fallout, yeah, yeah.
Fallout. Like
Mission Impossible, yeah.
that was his best role. Like he should be playing more villains in movies, but that was his easily his best role. And yeah, like I agree. Like there's so many great performances in this. And like I feel like that's a big reason why I wanted to highlight a lot of them here, but it's easily Christopher Reeve. Like if Superman doesn't work, this
Hmm.
movie doesn't work. Like
Like we were
oh,
talking earlier, imagine the Eastwood version of this movie. It would be awful. You can't
oh
imagine Frick because Eastwood wouldn't bulk up either.
Eastwood wouldn't bulk up, and Eastwood would play it dry and sardonic, and like this movie is just delightfully like it's not over the top campy, but
Mhm.
it's wink wink like it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. Like that's the vibe that they're going for, and they kind of hit the head on the nail on the head here.
Mhm.
It blends this like weird. It's like campy, but not really. It's like lightly campy, but
Mhm.
it's just character work,
Yeah.
and
Literally, it's just like the difference between Clark and and Superman, and even when he's Superman, just like how charming you can see why everyone's like immediately enraptured with him, and he even gives good
and
comedic
then
performances.
Clark is wallpaper.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's literally Jerry Siegler. Like, that was his impression coming up with Superman. They came up with it in late high school because they were Jewish immigrants. And he came over and he felt like he said, I saw all these pretty girls and they couldn't see me. And I wish I didn't look like that wallpaper. So Clark Kent is really that amalgamation of it. It's why when people go like, how could you not tell Clark Kent is Superman with the glasses? It's like it's the persona. It just hasn't been relayed well. in recent.
It's great in the end of the movie when Lois like is starting to think like
Is it? No, come
Lois Lane, that is the craziest thing you ever thought of.
on. Yeah. If Jimmy Olsen wasn't there, she would have probably pieced it together.
It is funny. Like I've seen this movie. I think this is probably my got like third or fourth time watching this, and I always forget that Jimmy Olsen's in this
Yeah,
movie.
he's just kind of he's there at the beginning and then he's there at the end, and it's just Jimmy Olsen is the most useless sidekick of all time,
Yeah, he's
easily.
just there to be like, oh, gee, Willikers.
Yeah, he is old. He is the G. Willikers, the character. But so Hackman, Margaret Kidder, Ned Beatty, like they're fantastic. Jackie Cooper, like they truly are
Yeah.
bringing the heat here. But it's Christopher Reeve,
Yeah.
and rightfully so.
Ah, are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Tommy, now hear me out. Hear me out. We keep Superman. We have Kermit as Lex Luthor. Kermit playing a villain. What do you think?
Interesting,
It's
interesting.
Superman. Superman is an alien brought to a world of Muppets.
I could see instead of Kermit being like Sam the Eagle or one of the old guys, like
No,
the
no,
older officers.
it has to be Kermit. It has to be Kermit.
Okay, just to contrast it. That could easily work. Christopher Reeve also was on the Muppet Show, and there's a whole like subplot of like Miss Piggy being obsessed with him on the Muppet Show
Of course,
for that
naturally.
episode. And it could easily work because, like we're saying, this movie like it's not full blown camp, but it has this campy elements, and it definitely has
The Muppets could blend in here.
yeah, easily. It's not
Easy.
like a violent Superman movie. I mean, like, does he even throw a punch? I don't even know.
I don't think he
Maybe,
does.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's like a non-violent. He catches a bullet, but
that's about it. Yeah.
that's about it. But yeah, I could see it. I could see it happen, but Disney and Warner Brothers will never play nice to make it happen. But Tommy, review time. Give me a score out of five.
So this movie really set the blueprint for like so many different comic book movies, but it's rarely been done better than here, I think. And the cast is just perfectly cast. I mean, everyone. This is a movie where like we usually don't talk about every single member of the cast like we did here, practically. So, and there's a reason why, because this is very entertaining. Richard Donner is just such a fun director, and John Williams with one of the most iconic scores that still resonates to this day. I'm gonna go 4 out of 5. If we cut out maybe a little Brando stuff, it probably would have been better because Brando's phoning it in. But
Right.
otherwise, four out of five.
Hackman was also phoning it in, but not but
And a good, and if you
in
still
the
give fun
way
performance.
I'm free to do whatever I want here. Who cares?
Yeah,
Versus, this isn't the conversation for Gene Hackman. This is like who cares?
yeah,
Brando got paid $2 million and didn't want to be there. Like
exactly.
it's crazy that they brought Brando in. Absolutely insane. For all the stories of Brando, how the hell do you bring him in for this for a 5 minute cameo? But I digress. You put his name on the poster, I suppose. I'm gonna go 3.5 out of 5. Really enjoyed watching this. What essentially felt like the first time, just delightfully campy. Really an examination of Clark Kent and Lois Lane's relationship is kind of the core of this movie, the nucleus of it. Um, with just so many fun performances. If this movie had like a coherent story together, it's probably better. It's probably higher regarded. That's just like the one thing it's missing, but it nails Superman. And from to my knowledge, that has not happened since. And I'm really glad that this movie exists. And we will discuss Superman when we are able to.
The 2025
The
one.
2025 one. We just discussed the 1978 one. But this is a fun episode, Tom. This is really fun. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, we had a good deep dive this time. So,
Good
get your
deep dive.
Superman fix here.
Get your
So,
Superman fix here. Um, Tommy, any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
well, thank you guys so much for listening. You can follow us on social media. That is at Seen It Pod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Very occasionally I post on Threads, and then Blue Sky. We're on Blue Sky too. Podsient.bluesky.social. And while you're here, leave us a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Helps us out, helps us grow the show. And next week, we're going to be covering Clueless. 30 years later, upstairs Steve has never seen it. So
Yeah,
we're
we
getting him on the podcast to talk about
that's
it.
how we drag him back in, baby. We go, have you seen Clueless? No?
And it's like, upstairs Steve, you love ska. How do you not seen Clueless before?
Seriously, seriously.
So,
Um, Very excited for Clueless. Thank you all so much for listening today. We will see you next time.